This is the minor side of life. And now, Rob Sternberg.
Thank you, Pete. Pete, did I tell you that I missed you doing that? In all seriousness, have I told you that? Oh, I have. Okay. Well, either way, thank you, and hopefully we'll get into that soon. But first, let me thank all of you for joining us on the minor side of life. This is, of course, where we talk candidly about the business and promotional aspects of minor league sports and life, as is in the title. This episode is a part of a Lost Episodes sort of bullshit name, but it has since been found for real, and we'll talk about it. In these Lost episodes, you'll hear from a different guest who, of course, has either worked in a minor league office or played or performs on the minor league stage. We talk about how they got started, what they've learned, and some opinions and personal stories along the way. If you have worked in minor league sports or want to know what it's like, this is the show for you. For me, from the Texas League and the Eastern League to the PCL and the IL, and now we're down here in the Southern League, or what may be the Southern League, and I can't wait to tell you about that as well. On this show, though, as always, I'll bring almost a decade, or what would have been a decade, of minor league baseball stories and experience to the table, and very much looking forward to sharing them with you. In this episode here, we'll talk with another well-traveled minor league veteran, Lane Adams. As it turns out, our paths have crossed a few times over the years, twice in the Kansas City system, and then in the 2019 season in Lehigh Valley. We'll get to formally introducing Lane in a sec, but Lane is one of those guys that you could tell from afar and in passing that he had the proverbial good old head on his shoulders, smart guy, and knew what was up beyond the field of play, if you will. And that said, Lane was very straightforward about his current career options and can kind of give us a look as to what it's like to be a minor league free agent as the calendar is turning over into a new year, and just how different it is than either what we can assume or what we know it's like for somebody that's about to sign for hundreds of millions of dollars. So a good look at that side of the minor side. Goddamn, some people have to work at this and prepare. Not that we don't, but what a free-flowing form of entertainment this is. Yes, we are excited to be here today and get to talk with Lane. And he's also no stranger to having to change organizations as well. Lane will be the third player for those keeping score that we've had here on the minor side, but first active one at that. And that was all done for a reason. They're not just, retired players. Oh, what was it like to play in minor league baseball? No, it wasn't that. It was Mitch Canham is now the head coach of a Division I baseball program, and sort of had the inkling to be a manager almost his whole professional life. Anthony Seratelli made it, talk about a half a phone call away from being in the big leagues, talked about experience going overseas, playing a full season in Japan, and now starting a production company. So a couple of different perspectives, and we're excited to get into this one as well. It's a chance to bring that perspective that some of us working on the minor side feel like we get some of it, but then you start to hear firsthand, and it becomes a whole nother deal. I bet this is a little different than when we chatted with Anthony Seratelli in episode 7. That was kind of a career retrospective and how it rolls into his production company. And then the last time, episode 10, we talked to Mitch Canham, who is now the coach of Oregon State. Both of those episodes obviously available in the archives over at minorside.com and wherever you're listening to this. But before we get started, we'll remind you that this episode is being presented, of course, by Promotional Adventures. I know Dustin and his team at Promotional Adventures are busy now helping teams fill orders for what we're counting on as a big, a beautiful, if you will, comeback season for 2021. I know there are some hockey leagues starting up soon. If you are in the business of ordering promotional items, I certainly suggest you reach out right now. We'll tell you more about them as we go, but do give Dustin a call right now. Visit promotionaladventures.com for more information. All right. As far as a formal introduction, because we know that was not formal, but this is going to be formal. Lane Adams, an 11-year pro. He was drafted and signed by the Kansas City Royals in 2009 out of Red Oak, Oklahoma, where he was a two-sport star, and there's sort of a theme in his early part of the career, a two-sport star in high school, holding a number of basketball records as well for Red Oak High. Almost got to play D-1 basketball at Missouri State, but he spent the next 5 years working his way up through the Kansas City system, including making his big league debut with a cup of coffee in the big time, as they say, 6 games as a September call-up for the World Series bound Kansas City Royals in 2014. He became a free agent for the first time. He spent the 2016 season between AAA and AA for the Cubs and Yankees, and then he signed with the Braves prior to the 2017 season, and there he spent most of the next 2 years, played in 111 games with the Braves over the course of that time. 2019, we actually both began the year in the Lehigh Valley with the Phillies AAA affiliate. And then he finished the season back as a member of the Atlanta Braves organization. That's what we have for some background for you, and I'm sure we'll color in the lines as we talk to Lane Adams. Lane, how are you today? How is the offseason treating you?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Rob. I appreciate it. It's been a good offseason. It's been solid. Or me and my wife are in the process of building our first home. Weather's been pretty good for the most part in Oklahoma's. Got to watch a lot of basketball games, and pretty much been pretty laid back but eventful off season for me so far.
So you work out in Oklahoma year round. You don't go to California or Phoenix, anywhere like that. You're a year round Okie.
Yeah, me and my wife live in Edmond. Like I said, we're building a house in Norman. We should be in that by June. I do go out to California once a month, and I go out there for once a month for a week and hit out there with the guy I hit with. So I do have a couple of trips that I do take during the off season, but I do live in Oklahoma City, Edmond area for my off season.
Okay, so now you've been out of the purview of an organization for a little bit now, to where in the off season you're more or less kind of on your own until you sign with somebody. How does your off-season prep come together? How do you figure out what you need to do? Is it through an agent, through a group of guys that you kind of been working with for a while? Talk me through how you know what to do, how you know what to work on in the off-season. And really just to make sure you're doing, the most current thing in terms of trends, and you're getting an objective look at yourself, the work that you just put in the previous season.
I think, it's everything I do is, I've been kind of focused on the hitting side of it. Obviously, the whole hitting philosophies have changed over the past couple of years. I got into this, trying to change my swing, and I think back in 2016. So I've been at this for a couple of years. It's it's something I have to stick to and stay on top of, because when I had this one certain swing for 25, 26 years of my life, and having to change 25, 26 years of habits to create new habits, it's something I have to stay on top of. So it's, hitting is something I take very seriously in the off season. I'd probably take I think this year I took 2 weeks off when I got home and went back out to California and started up again. So hitting is maintaining my swing and working on is something that it's at the top of my priority list every day. And that's something I take very seriously, and I've invested a lot of time, money, and to get the right resources for myself. And it's something that just makes me feel comfortable and confident when I head out to spring training.
And you're among hundreds of minor league free agents, during an off season. So, are you on your own in terms of finding a hitting instructor or finding a place to work out at? How do you find that?
I've been pretty active on Twitter on the hitting side of it. There's a lot of guys. Twitter is actually how I found JD Martinez, the guy, Craig Wallenbrock, who I first started hitting with. And then I've explored other avenues and stuff, and I've just made connections with all these hitting guys, and just gone out and probably worked with them for a little bit. But and then I probably worked with probably 5 or 6 different hitting guys throughout the last 4 or 5 years. And I know a lot of people probably think, well, shouldn't you just pick one and roll with that? And a lot of guys do. I personally, I like to kind of just exhaust every option I have, and I like to take little nuggets from everybody and kind of incorporate it to what I want to do and what makes sense to me. So I don't have just one hitting guy. I probably have at least I could probably text 5 different guys a month, and it's all very valuable information that they are willing to share with me. And I think it helps me, and it gives me confidence in knowing that I can go to them and I trust them and they understand what I'm trying to do. So just being able to make those connections and have those guys willing to help me out in my career has been a lot of fun. And it's great to be able to see different philosophies, different ways of thinking. And I'll try anything once, whether it doesn't work, I'll try anything once. But the last thing I want to do is be done with my career and be kicking myself in the butt because I didn't, explore this area, and leave no stone unturned. I think that's what the saying is.
Yes, it is. It seems like you're building an eclectic sort of well up of info to pull, and data and contacts as well. As far as Twitter and hitting, I get my tips from, or I used to, from Domingo Ayala. But in terms of an off-season timeline, is this the time of year when the chips start falling, or is it happening earlier or later compared to the recent few years that you've spent between organizations? Take us through this time of year in the off-season for you in terms of figuring out where you're going to be this summer.
Every off-season is different. My first off-season as a free agent, it was phones were ringing right off the bat. Last year it was kind of delayed because the way MLB free agency went. So right now we've had some talks. It's pretty good. My agent's out in winter meetings right now, so he's doing all the dirty work. I'm just kind of sitting back and waiting for his phone call to tell me the information he's gathered and what teams are thinking and looking at for the 2020 season. So it's a lot of sitting and waiting. You try not to think about it, but obviously humans, you do. You try to foresee into the future, but it's just one of those things where I hired a really good agent in Keith Grunwald at Vanguard, and I just trust him to do what he does, and we'll see how the chips fall out.
And I did want to get into this a little later, but a good time to bring it up now. But in terms of finding organizations, and you first went through this after your Royals tenure, but when weighing the options that start to come in, what are you guys looking at? Obviously, you never it's big league playing time, yes, but you never can tell for sure where the clearest path for major league at bats are. But is there a formula, or in your own words, what is it that you're looking for, kind of sometimes through the weeds? Because everyone who wants you is going to try to sell you on the big league opportunity. So how about that?
It varies from every player. I like to look for opportunity. Like what place is going to give me the best opportunity? And realistically, for a guy like me who is considered a fringe outfielder, there's really no there's no guarantees with any team you sign with. So you kind of just weigh the pros and the cons, the situations. You look at their rosters at this time of the year. It's like, okay, have they gotten everybody they got for the offseason? Are they still shopping around the free agent market? Are they discussing trades? You kind of let all that, you watch all that and see what's happening. But there's different things you look for, but you can't get too picky, and sometimes you just got to just roll with your gut feeling and hope for the best. And you never know what's going to happen. So you got to just trust what your decision is and don't second guess it. And then when you do join a team, you just, hit the ground running and give it your best shot and try to make something happen and force their hand.
I definitely like that. And I have a theory that I'd love your feedback on because you've been through both scenarios. But let me pose it for you. And as far as a path to the big leagues, would you rather be part of a veteran AAA outfield where it would take an injury and of course you hate to say injury, but something out of the plan, so to speak, to get to the big leagues, or go to an organization where there is a younger or inexperienced outfield crop, but basically pick between having a younger team at the major league level where they may not be so quick to send a guy back down, but you're up there on the depth chart, or a win now experienced team where somebody like you, they might look at and think they'll know exactly how you'll handle a spot that they need you in. And they won't have to rush maybe someone else into that spot who's not ready. So which going in presents a better path? Because you were in that spot in 16 with the Yankees, and then in 2017 with Atlanta, where I guess that may answer the question, but it did turn out that you got your longest extended look at the major league level. But going in, is there any merit there?
There is, but it depends. It really depends on how the front office goes about it. Is the veteran team? If you're a veteran, it might be best to be on a contending team. Someone who's kind of been there and done that. You're not necessarily throwing a young kid in the fire with trying to play meaningful games. Some teams will do that, which is okay, but some teams don't. When I was at Kansas City, I remember having to repeat AA at 25 because I was technically too young. Like, I was young. So the youngest outfielder on our 40-man at the time. So in that situation, it didn't really, it didn't work out for me as far as getting a look there. But honestly, it depends. Every organization is different. Some will just throw their young guys into it and, let them go after it. And some kind of want the experience. They want the experience on their team. And so that comes into play when you're signing too. It's, how have teams, what does a team's track record look like when it comes to promotions? Are they contending? When they contend, do they call up guys with experience, or they call up, they give their prospects a shot? So every team's different. So that's something that when we start picking out teams and, weighing which way we want to go, those are the questions you ask yourself.
And talk about your representation in the process. Have you had the same agent your whole pro career?
No, I didn't have an agent when I got drafted. I picked this guy up. I picked Keith up in middle of 2018. So we've been together for a little over a year and a half now, and it's been a pretty good connection. He works hard. He's smart. He's been a player before, so he gets it, and he's not afraid to ask the hard questions and put pressure on teams.
Okay, well, I think we could both hope that's what's going on right now, but it wasn't for sure way back when you got drafted. Wanted to sort of rewind a bit. We mentioned you were a two-sport prospect, a legit two-sport prospect. That's tough. A legit two-sport prospect. It's probably easier to say than actually do. You did it. You turned down the chance to play D1 basketball. How do you look back on that time now?
Yeah. Basketball is something I always did growing up. My mom was an assistant coach in high school. Not when I was in high school, but earlier when I was younger. It was something I always did. I didn't play summer baseball. I always played summer basketball. I never really hit on my own or worked at baseball. I always went to the gym. So basketball is definitely my favorite thing to do and my favorite sport. And it's what I wanted to do. I wanted to play in college. I really had no interest in playing college baseball or even getting drafted, honestly. I remember I didn't go to the Yankees pre-draft workout because I had like a basketball tournament I was playing in. So, yeah, it was a tough decision though. I remember I was in Springfield. I was in class and I was watching the draft, and the scout who was my area scout or whatever, he texted me to say they're going to take you in the third round. I got drafted. I just kind of got my books, went to Coach Martin, who's now the head coach at Missouri. I went to his office at the time and told him what happened. He kind of knew that it was a possibility that I was going to get drafted. And that walking over there and telling him that I got drafted, hadn't made a decision yet. He helped me. He helped me have a lot of peace of mind in that decision because he wanted me to do whatever, whatever made me happy and what was best for my future. And I was, he could have put a lot of pressure on me to stay, which I think a lot of coaches probably would have. He didn't. So I really respect him and value him for not doing that. He was really encouraging. And so I went home, took about a month off, like my family. And, we were talking about, signing bonuses going back and forth. And when we finally come to an agreement, I called him again. I called Coach Martin again and told him that I was going to, go play baseball. And, he was happy for me. He was genuinely happy for me. So he made a very difficult process, a decision that I was going through a lot easier for me. So, it was still a tough decision, but it could have been a lot worse had he put pressure on me. But no, it was very genuine about it. And when I talked to him, he's like, hey, just don't think about playing basketball. Get up when you're going to go play. Go put your best foot forward. And he said, whenever I get done, I come back and play for him wherever he was. Now I'm 30 years old. I don't know if he'd take me in the zoo now, but no, it was definitely a difficult decision because I put my whole heart and soul and time into basketball, and to just kind of walk away from that and do something that I didn't necessarily love or enjoy at the time. That was kind of a big step out there for me, but looking back at it, I think I definitely made the right decision, and I've been happy with it ever since.
Awesome. That's great stuff. And knew you'd really be able to articulate that as well as you did. You got to come up at an interesting time in Royals history, as you kind of said you came up a year or two behind a group that wound up going to back-to-back World Series. And of course, winning one, you got a little taste of it the year before in 2014. Talk to me about that culture a little bit. Did that permeate through the organization? They say no matter what level you're at, you're always chasing the next one. But did you feel the success of the big league team sort of reverberate? And reverberate is for friend of the show. The word reverberate is for friend of the show, and Mizzou grad, actually, I believe, Taylor Edmonds. But Lane, did the success reverberate to the AA and AAA level?
Definitely. Because those guys are just a couple years older than me, and you're with them in instructional league, spring training. You get to know those guys pretty pretty well. So you want success for them. But yeah, I think though I didn't play as much as I would obviously want to, or anybody want to, I think going up there 2014 and being a part of meaningful baseball games for my first taste of the big leagues was very important for me. Because coming up in the minor leagues, especially when you're younger and go to instructional league, they always say every out matters, every extra base matters, can't make errors. And you, as a younger player, you kind of just roll your eyes, non-agree, and yeah, whatever. But going up there and being, I think, half a game to a game behind the Tigers all September for the Central Division, I think that was that really kind of put in perspective how important every 90 feet is, every play you make, every hitting the cutoff man, not letting a guy take an extra base. I think that really made me realize how important those things are, and to be in that clubhouse where everyone was just pulling the rope the same direction, wanting to win, wanting to get the playoffs. Just being a part of that culture and atmosphere made me want to be a part of something like that. And fortunately, in 2018, I was able to be a part of the Braves playoff roster. So, I think getting a taste of meaningful baseball games, in my first major league stint, or whatever you want to call it, really set the bar for what I wanted to attain as a baseball player.
And then kind of going back to the conversation before, the more success the Royals had, they became sort of the team looking to add on those veteran pieces rather than letting even more young guys play, which you kind of fell victim to in that scenario. Is that sort of...
Oh, that's 100% accurate. And that's the thing. Obviously you want to play, and it's all about timing. It's timing and opportunity in this game. My timing wasn't perfect in Kansas City. That's not anyone's fault. I'm not blaming them or anything. It's just they were in back-to-back World Series the year I was on their 40-man. So, their goal is to win a World Series. My goal is to help them. They didn't need my help. And then, fast forward to 2017 to where, I didn't even go to Major League Spring Training with the Braves, but I got up to a really good start in AAA. They were struggling up there in the big league level. I got a chance, and that's where I kind of, was able to get an extended look and, really set myself up for the remainder of the year in 2018. So it's all about right place, right time for a lot of guys in this game. And you just kind of cross your fingers and hope you're the guy they call.
Right. And the first free agent experience, that was your first time in winter ball outside the country. Is that right?
Yeah. The Royals made me go play in Venezuela. I really had no desire to go. They made me. I wasn't happy about it at the time, mainly because I didn't get called in September, and then they wanted me to go play in Venezuela. I was not too thrilled about it. I went, and I had a blast. That was a lot of fun. I'm really glad I did it. And if the conditions were better in Venezuela, I would definitely go back. It was a lot of fun. It's some of the most fun I've had playing baseball outside of the major leagues.
Why is that?
Oh, it's like playing inside of a baseball game inside of a soccer stadium with soccer fans. It's just loud. It's just obnoxious. You got people dancing on the dugouts. It's a pretty different experience. It's a lot of fun. It's, they enjoy it down there, and they take the winning seriously, which every player wants to do. They want to play meaningful baseball games, and down there you play meaningful baseball games. So it was a lot of fun. It was my first real taste of playing games that mattered. So I think that was good for me, and as far as my development goes.
And that sort of wrapped up your time with Kansas City. But since you're talking about crowds, in terms of professional baseball here, I would imagine it's better than playing in a complex in a field somewhere in Arizona. But just in general, about the minor league crowds here in the U.S.
Obviously everyone wants to play in front of big crowds. Lehigh, you got great crowds there. It was pretty easy to get up for games. Now I was in Mississippi this past last 3 weeks of the season. I might have had 18 people plus the hot dog vendor in the stands. There's not a whole lot of action going on there. It does get a little difficult, especially in the dog days of summer. But at the same time, you're still competing, and everyone in the professional baseball is a competitor. So you kind of lose that. Once the game starts, the whole fan size attendance, it kind of goes away. You're just focused on competing and doing whatever you can to have success that day. And you hope it's in front of thousands of people, not a couple hundred. But when the game starts and you're in the middle of competing, you lose track of what's going on outside the lines.
And I guess it's interesting too. I know it certainly is for other people, but just as we talk about Lehigh versus Jackson, Mississippi versus Gwinnett, or wherever you might be in a season, it's also just not where you are, but where you're living. Of course, what's that end of it been like for you, and how you been living? It's been difficult at times, and then again, I've made connections where people have made it easier on me. It's no walk in the park, especially when you start talking to guys who are making minor league salaries, not guys like team control minor league salaries, where they're making $800, low as $500 every 2 weeks. It gets difficult. You got guys. I never had to do this. Fortunately, I think personally, I'm very fortunate with how I've had my living accommodations, and that's just out of sheer luck and knowing people. But it gets difficult. I've seen guys. I think in AA we had 6 guys in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. It's traveling. It's pretty difficult, especially in the lower levels when it's one bus and a lot of guys are doubled up and you got 9, 10 hour, 12-hour bus trips. Fortunately, as you get older, sometimes you take 2 buses, you get a little more room. And honestly, I'd rather bus than fly, because the PCL, that's the absolute worst. That travel is terrible. I hope I never have to do it again. And I feel bad for everyone who's have to do it next year in 2019 or 2020. So, and there's no way to do it. The bus leaves the airport at 3:30 in the morning. I've tried staying up all night before. I tried going to bed earlier, and it's just, there's no way to make that travel easier. But it's difficult. Yep, and I'm almost embarrassed to say, because I know the office winds up, the minor league affiliate office winds up bearing the brunt of the unpleasantness, let's say. But the one time I was in the travel meeting at the winter meetings for Omaha, we were in between travel people at the time, and you bet I took good notes. But the people doing the travel, even, just so I guess, and I'm sure they're no worse for the wear either, just executing it either. But the rule itself is the first flight out and connecting, of course, most of the time through another city, and then a lot of times straight to the ballpark. So
yeah, so I think the PCO rules when I was there where you had to take the first flight, because if you somehow missed the game because you took a later flight, then I think the affiliate got fined like $50,000 or something. I don't know if that's true. That's what I was told. So we take the first flight. Yes, most of these cities, there's not a direct. You have to connect, and you connect. You get in. I remember one time we left Round Rock connected in Dallas and went to Memphis. And we got to Memphis. We got there relatively early, like 9:30. Get to the hotel. Rooms aren't ready. Won't be ready till 3. We have to be at the ballpark at 2. So we're all 25 are just laying around in the lobbies. Some guys went to the ballpark and slept on the training tables. It's just, it just never works out. You just chalk those travel days up as just grinding days, and hopefully you find a way to, as a hitter, come up with a hit or maybe a couple walks to kind of just, keep the day from being a total disaster.
And I think people assume it's the life of luxury, of course, and wouldn't think in a million years you'd have to go through that. But a lot of this sounds like it might be up for some discussion. Do you pay any attention to that as far as maybe eliminating some or all the looks like short season teams and cutting down on the draft? I know they're gonna do it around the College World Series in Omaha this year. But do you follow any of this?
I don't know how it affects. I hope they don't do away with cutting the teams, because it's not a money issue. Organizations can afford it. And you have some of these teams, those are jobs for people. And I played in those small towns, Idaho Falls, Arlington. There's those towns like that. The city communities revolve around those teams, and a lot of those teams have a lot of history, been around a long time. So I think it'd just be. I hope they don't do it just for the sake of those communities, because those people, they love Idaho Falls, love the Chuckers. They're all about the Chuckers, and I'm sure there's other things to do in Idaho Falls, Idaho, but I don't. If you take the Chuckers away, I wouldn't know what to do if I was in Idaho Falls. So I hope there's they can resolve it to where they don't do away with teams, because then it's costing guys, players jobs, coaches jobs, and stadium workers jobs, and affiliate jobs. So hopefully it doesn't come to that, and they can continue being part of the game.
And what about how they might be looking at almost like a semi-pro league, where the teams may have some organizational players, but the affiliates might be looking for players to fill out those rosters themselves? So is that even feasible based on what you've seen or experienced? Yeah.
Could those teams do it financially? I don't know. But if you take away, it was 40 something teams, you take away 42 teams, that's a lot of jobs you take away from players. So there will be players out there who would be available to play. As far as paying them, and I don't know if they'll be able to do that. I don't know how that. I'm sure that have an effect on guys like me, where everyone has to bump up a level. Now it's like there's not so many what they call organizational depth guys. It's mostly you see more just prospect loaded teams. So maybe more prospects, not a lot of depth or organizational filler guys. So that put your guys like my situation could be having to look at independent league jobs type things if they want to continue playing. So yeah, there's a lot of it. If they were to do that, there's going to be a lot of trickle down effects on it from different areas.
Definitely a fascinating time, and interested to see how it'll play out in the next 12, 18 months, and looking forward now. Where do you imagine yourself? I mean, you've had some time in the big leagues. You became the 1% of the 1% of the 1% who made it. And it sounds like there's a drive to get back. But, in your own words, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to playing. I'm looking forward to going out and just playing the game that I've been playing for, was it 10 years now? Just doing that, and hopefully it leads me to playing in meaningful baseball games, and whether that's in the big leagues, Asia somewhere. Hopefully it's somewhere there a place that wants to win and values winning. So I have the most fun playing when I'm on a team that's, competitive and really trying to win games and has the focal point of being a championship. That's when I personally have the most fun. I think a lot of guys have the most fun doing that.
Yep, and it's that atmosphere where and when every pitch matters and every 90 feet matters, and that's why we enjoy watching and working it every night. And of course, good to know it's the same on your end as well. And definitely wish you a lot of luck. As you know, I've got to see you play every night, at least home games, for a few seasons and 3 different parts of the country, as a matter of fact, over the last number of years. And take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
And no problem. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Lane Adams. Not too often we have a real class act on the minor side, but Lane is one for sure. And that was a lost episode of The Minor Side of Life. It has since been found. I hope you enjoyed it. That was originally recorded in December 2019, all the way in December of 2019. And depending on when in December I here was either about to, had already accepted a position to join the Rocket City Trash Pan as returning to my old role, sort of tried and true role in production and entertainment. I'd honestly say I couldn't be happier. Remember that old George Carlin bit about couldn't be happier and I don't want to piss off the dead, or George. And we have enough shit going on. For Lane Adams, though, he wound up signing a minor league deal with the Twins in February of 2020. We know how that went. We are looking around for some more allegedly lost recordings, material, content, of course. And we'll do these wraparounds and post them up right here on minorside.com or wherever you are listening to this. So other than that, if you liked what you heard here on The Minor Side of Life, please let us know. We look forward to interacting. The show is on social media at The Minor Side on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube. I don't remember that. For me, though, I am Rob Sternberg. I am at Rob Sternberg on Twitter. Thank you so much for listening. Certainly had a lot of fun way back recording this. For the details, though, here is the great Pete Candianis. He is still a real nice guy.
This has been a presentation of The Minor Side of Life. We kindly ask for your support of this program by subscribing to the show on your preferred podcast player, joining the newsletter list at minorside.com, and following The Minor Side on social media. Plus, you can always visit theminorside.com for exclusive content and more. Thank you for listening.